All right, you're live.
Greetings and welcome to another Educator Innovator Hangout on Air. It's Thursday, June 26th, and we're talking about Creative Commons. Creative Commons licensing our work so that it becomes part of a shareable set of resources for educators and becomes part of a set of open educational resources. I'm your host, Paul O., and I work for the National Writing Project. I'm based in Berkeley, California. Today, our guests are a group of educators who are going to tell us more about the idea that our digital work and the work of the young people we work with shouldn't necessarily be locked down behind copyright, but rather should be shared for the greater good using Creative Commons licensing. So let's jump in and let our guests introduce themselves. So we'll start on my screen left, and that would be Alan. Alan, could you say a few words about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Alan Berry. I'm the education manager at a nonprofit organization called The LAMP. That's the Learning About Multimedia Project. And we're based in New York City, and we do media literacy workshops all over the city, everything from news literacy, advertising and commercials, PSAs, short documentaries. And we do those in school, we do them after school. We work in public libraries, community centers, etc.
Wonderful. And then next to Alan, at least on my screen, is the Educator Innovator logo. We'll skip over that and go to Jane. Jane Park.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Jane. I've been with Creative Commons in a variety of roles for the past 6.5 years, and currently I'm a project manager in the education space, which means I join hangouts like this one to explain Creative Commons to educators, and I work to manage free online initiatives about Creative Commons and other open resources in the education space.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jane. And now our award goes to the person who has dialed into an Educator Innovator Hangout from furthest away. That's Josie. So Josie, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi. Hi, yes, my name is Josie Fraser. I work for Leicester City Council as ICT Strategy Lead. I work primarily with 23 city secondary and special education needs schools, and my job kind of looks at things like infrastructure and buildings and systems and software within the schools, but it also looks at staff development, specifically around digital literacy, connecting educators to one another, and looking at open education approaches.
Wonderful, thanks. So we also have a couple of educators who we're trying to get on the line. One is Zach Chase. Many in our audience may know Zach. Zach is currently on the road, and so we're trying to get him on a phone call into the Hangout. And Paul Allison of the New York City Writing Project may drop in. So just to give you a warning that we may have a couple people coming in and out. All right, so let's move on to the topic for today's webinar, Creative Commons. So Jane, I'm wondering, can you tell us a little bit about what Creative Commons is for those people in our audience who don't know what it is?
Sure. Can I share my screen?
Yes.
I have a few slides. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so everyone can see that screen.
Yep.
Okay, so this is my email in case you have questions afterwards, and if you click on that link to sign up for updates, that will take you to our mailing list subscription, and that's to keep track of any Creative Commons news in the future. So I do urge you to sign up for that if you have a chance. So what is Creative Commons? So a lot of people ask me this question. They're very surprised to hear that we are an actual nonprofit organization both on the web and off the web. And if you go to creativecommons.org and you follow along with me right now, you'll see that we have a website where we explain our mission, and we have a variety of other resources for you to learn about us. So if you go to our website, creativecommons.org, and you go to the mission box, it actually asks the question, what is Creative Commons? It answers it for you, and it says Creative Commons helps you share your knowledge and creativity with the world, and Creative Commons develops, supports, and stewards legal and technical infrastructure that maximizes digital creativity, sharing, and innovation. I don't usually say this in actual webinars because that's kind of a mouthful and it sounds very vague, and you probably still don't know what Creative Commons is about. So what I'm going to tell you instead is how I explain it to folks. And I usually just tell people that we make sharing content online easy, legal, and scalable. And that's because, as many of us know, sharing content on the web isn't always so easy or legal or scalable, especially because of today's very restrictive copyright laws. And to give you some background on why Creative Commons started in the first place, it's because copyright restrictions are so extreme these days that the people who wanted to share resources online often are confused about how they can share those resources, how they can use other people's resources, and what it really means to infringe upon copyright or to use copyright resources without getting permission. So there's a lot of misconception about copyright law out there, and that's why Creative Commons started, to give people more options in how to share their works. So this is a problem, sort of succinctly stated, is that the traditional copyright law was designed for old distribution models before the internet was ever created, but the same law governs the internet today. So previously, when it came to copying and distributing materials, it used to be that you had to go through a publishing company or some kind of third party in order to distribute those materials widely. But today, as we all know, you can distribute materials very easily with a click of a button by publishing a blog post or sending out a tweet or Instagramming a photo. And so all of these things that was previously very hard to do are very easy to do, especially for students and youth of this generation. But just because it's easy to do those things on the internet doesn't mean that it's legal. And copyright infringement can be anywhere from $750,000 to $150,000, or $750 to $150,000 per infringement. And that's kind of just a hard landscape to navigate legally, especially if you don't really know what the laws are or how to use other works that are available on the web. And that's essentially why Creative Commons was started, because with the advent of the internet, there is all these educational resources online, and they should be freely available and be able to be used and built upon. And there are all sorts of possibilities for innovation and educational access in different countries, not just the United States. And so Creative Commons sort of recognizes that potential, and we recognize that teachers and students are all creators of copyrighted content, whether they recognize it or not, because whenever you send an email, you're making a copy of copyrighted content. Whenever you upload a remix of a YouTube video, you're creating content, and students are doing that every day. So Creative Commons gives you a choice about how you want to share your work online, beyond all rights reserved copyright, which currently exists. And we do that through our Creative Commons licenses, which most of you may have heard of, but may or may not know how each of them work. So if you go to our website, creativecommons.org, and you click on licenses, you'll be taken to this page that breaks down the licenses for you. But I'm not going to go into all the details now. I'll just tell you that the licenses are made up of 4 different conditions. All licenses have the attribution condition, which means that if you add this license to your work, people who use your work are required to give you credit. And then on top of that condition, you can choose to reserve further rights or choose to leave those conditions off. So for example, the base license, attribution license, you say